thank you. Oh yeah, I'm on. Good afternoon and thank you for coming. I'm going to make one more appeal for those of you all who are sitting in the back. It's an invitation to come on up and sit in any of the first 4 rows that are up in front. Thank you. Yay. So my name is, it's funny, I'm looking at my notes as if I don't know what my name is. So my name is Paul Dennis and I'm a professor at Hunter College in New York City, where I've been conducting a research project on dance for Huntington's disease with my partner and collaborator, Dr. Rao.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ashwini Rao. I am a professor of rehab medicine, programs in physical therapy at Columbia University, and I have been part of the Columbia HD Center for 25 years, working with the HD community. So I'm thankful for this collaboration with Professor Dennis.
Yay, thank you. I am going to lower the music just a little bit. So before we begin, I'd like to thank a few people and organizations that have made this possible and made my work possible. The Huntington's Disease Society of America, the Human Biology Project for believing in this work and supporting it, for Doctors Ashwini Rao and Karen Marda at Columbia University, the Center of Excellence, especially for Dr. Rao, as he has been my mentor and an excellent collaborator on this project, and for Hunter College, where I teach. This project aims to show that dance is uniquely positioned for change. Physical change, emotional change, sensory and cognitive change. Beginning in 2012, we've proposed that dance be included in the discussion as part of an individual's total care plan in support of managing HD symptoms and improving quality of life. Now, one of the reasons why I asked for folks to come sit on up, as you could well imagine, it's a participatory presentation here. And if you notice, those first 4 rows have some space in between so that you can't necessarily complain about knocking into people. So when you get up, you can take up some room. And there's a whole lot of space out in front that, you know, if you want to come and jam with us a little bit later on, we will. But I'd like to start with an invitation. And everything I ask is really an invitation. You do not have to participate. And if you rather sit down, that is just fine. Oftentimes, watching people do movement, your neurons are firing in the same way. So those mirror neurons could be working, but there's nothing like getting up and doing it yourself. So I'm going to invite you to start moving. I know you've been sitting down a lot. The invitation, and this is my chair, oops, is to yawn, stretch, shake, stand if you want. Yeah, I'll be a little silly. This is not going to be a highly technical thing at all. For the next 30 seconds, just move any way you'd like. If you hit someone, you can apologize now. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 20. And move in ways that might be familiar and ways that might be a little strange. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. You can sit down. And as you sit, I'll invite you to feel what you're feeling, having just moved. Awareness is essential to organizing our nervous system. Paying attention to the sensory input is an important step and integral for motor control. Let me say that again. Paying attention to sensory input is an important step to motor control. So as you sit there having just moved, pay attention to what you're feeling. What might be different? What might be tingling? How your heart might be beating? Anything. How you're feeling is going to be different from how the person next to you is feeling. And that's important, paying attention. Mindful and intentional movement practice is essential to total body connectivity. So I'd like to experiment with a few of the beginning practices that we do in our HD class, in our Dance for HD class. So as you've been paying attention, I'll invite you to look around the room and pay attention to something in the room. One thing. It could be something in the ceiling or the ceiling itself. It could be something on the wall or the wall itself or the floor. Have you even paid attention to the floor? I don't know if anybody's noticed all the designs of the floor. So pay attention to the room. And try to focus on one thing or two. It doesn't have to be everything. And what are you noticing? Pay attention to the thing that is catching your attention in the room. What's the color? What's the texture? If you could taste it, what might it taste like? I know that's strange, but how does the light reflect off it or not? And now I'd like you to bring in your attention a little closer. Pay attention to someone in the room. That person may pay attention to you or not, doesn't matter. So you might be looking at the back of someone's head, or at someone's eyes, or at someone's knee or shoes. Just pay attention. So we're bringing in our attention a little bit from the large room into someone closer. And pay attention. The color of their hair, the design of their glasses, the lapel around their neck. Their smile, if they're smiling with you. And before that gets too uncomfortable, pay attention to yourself now. We're sitting in chairs. Pay attention to where the back of your thighs or your buttocks or your back, your shoulder blades are touching the chair. How does that feel? Maybe your feet are on the ground. Maybe your toes are on the ground. How does that feel? Maybe your arms are folded or on your lap. How does that feel? So just pay attention to where you are and how you are. And I'll invite you to put your hands on your bellies, on your stomach, right around your belly button. And pay attention to your breathing. You don't have to change anything. As you inhale and as you exhale, what is rising? What is sinking? if you need to yawn or sigh, go ahead and do that as well. It's not a big deal. Actually, it is a big deal because you're paying attention to what's going on as you breathe. How many times do you do that in a day, if at all? That's good. She's yawning. If I start yawning, everybody else will. And with that mindset of paying attention to the things that are in our bodies, we went from the room to each other to ourselves. We're going to keep that thought of mindfulness. I think I was talking to someone earlier about mindfulness, mindful movement. I'll invite you, again, it's an invitation, you don't have to. If you're able to and if you want to, stand up right where you are. And pay attention to how you stand. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to stand up. Just pay attention to how your feet are. No one actually stands still. In dance, there's something called the gentle dance, that our bodies are often navigating equilibrium. There's no such thing as actually standing ramrod straight, so don't even try it. But pay attention to the little rocking you might just have. I'm going to increase the challenge a little bit for those of you who can. I'm going to ask you to put one foot in front of the other, heel and toe, and do the same thing. Pay attention to what's going on as you find equilibrium. If you fall off, that's not a big deal at all. If you have to put your hands to your side, that's not either. Feel all the little muscles that are working to give you equilibrium. And pay attention to that. That's a lot of work that's going on just to stand. And sometimes we walk and we're not even aware of how much work it takes. Okay, you can release yourself from that and have a seat. Thank you.
In terms of what Paul was talking about, dance, I think, is particularly important for Huntington's disease. And that's because we all know that Huntington's disease presents with some unique challenges. Motor system challenges, challenges to the cognitive system, and also for behavior. So in the motor system, we know that there's slowing of the movements. We know that there's a challenge with timing of movements. Thank you. And there's an increased variation from one movement to the next. In terms of cognition, we know that we have trouble with memory, attention, and then with behavior. And that's what we think dance is perfectly suited to, because dance is very, very unique. It is a low to moderate intensity activity, so it's easy on the joints. It works on coordination. It specifically works on movement timing. It specifically works on movement speed. It works on balance. It improves memory, attention, and as you just witnessed, it improves mood. And so we think that dance is uniquely suited as a unique interventional model for people with Huntington's disease.
Laban-Bartenieff Movement Systems, LBMS, is a vocabulary and methodology underlying the study of dance for Huntington's disease. It provides a map for analyzing, documenting, describing, and creating and recreating human movement through pattern analysis. Rudolf Laban was a dance theorist and teacher whose analysis of movement and forms of movement led to the creation of a movement theory and practice that was initially identified as choroitics, or space harmony. Space harmony. Space harmony is a non-personal scientific system and practical study of the various forms of harmonized movement. It's applicable to all human movement. We have a sense of music, in particular musicians. When you hear harmonious music, you also know what it sounds like when it's not harmonious, when a chord is off. Well, Laban theorized that space is not just a vacuum, that space also has laws that determines harmony, harmonic movement. Irmgard Bartenieff was a dance theorist and dancer, choreographer, and physical therapist, and a leading pioneer in dance movement therapy. After receiving a degree in physical therapy from New York University, she went on to work with polio victims and applied developmental principles and Laban movement analysis theories to her work. LBMS has been used in clinics, psychiatric settings with clients having an array of issues including autism, the autism spectrum disorder, Down syndrome, traumatic brain injury, learning disabilities, developmental delays, and in psychiatric settings, in prisons, veteran hospitals, and schools. How the body relates to this space that I talked about and the quality of its movement affects communication and function. Cooks, athletes, carpenters, cowboys, musicians, lovers, fighters, all organize their bodies and the space around them in ways that support connectivity, communication, and function. One of the 12 principles of Bartenieff movement fundamentals is this idea of connectivity, that the whole body is connected. And I'm going to invite another practice of something that we do in our Dance for Huntington's Disease class, and I call it the balloon head syndrome. So as you sit, I would like you to imagine that your head is filled or filling with helium, and that it's going to rise like a balloon. You don't have to push it up or anything, just allow it to gently float. And I'm going to invite you to open your eyes, not because closing your eyes isn't good, but dancing with your eyes closed is dangerous. So with your eyes open, seeing what you're seeing, noticing what you're noticing as we did before, imagine that your head is a balloon. If you'd like to, I could also encourage you to tap the very, very top of your head and go, oh, that's the top of my head. That's going to rise towards the ceiling. Just tap it just once or twice so that you get that sensory input about the very top of your head. And with that information, I'm going to invite you to stand with your head rising. And I'll invite you to sit with your head rising. Do that a couple times on your own. Being aware of what it takes, what you're doing. What does it take? How does it feel to stand and rise with this connectivity that my head is leading, guiding, just with rising and sinking? Good. Right, the next time you sit down, just hang sitting down for a second. I know this is all new. Here's what I will invite you to do. If you go out to lunch or dinner this evening and you look like this when you're getting up from the table, people are going to... So I'm going to invite you to make it just part of getting up. I'm going to stand, but my head is going to rise. And I'm going to walk around in a little bit with but my head is going to be And then I'm going to sit down again, and my head is going to rise. Otherwise, we'll all look like a bunch of zombies doing this and walking. So try that. As if, I know this is the first time you're doing it, but imagine that this has been a practice that you've had for a long time. You're connecting your head and your spine with your body. You're going to stand, maybe walk around a little bit, just not too far if you don't want to, and sit again. Yeah, everybody's doing it, so don't feel shy. Do it as often as you'd like. Nice. Nice. Yeah, and part of the practice would, in our classes, we would do something like this every day. And, the first day, it all looked the same way. But after a while, folks would actually start walking around because it became, which is how you want to include dance or movement as part of your movement practice. Any sensations that someone would like to describe as they did that? Would anybody like to offer what occurred, any aha or not, or any question about that as you did that? Anybody? A little lightheadedness, like drunk lightheadedness, or? A little bit, yeah. Because all of a sudden, there's not this solid thing happening, you're lighter. In the Laban language, that's lightness. And there's a difference between lightness and strength. So, yeah. Somebody else? Yes? Felt your posture was better. Winnie the Pooh, you know Winnie the Pooh, right? Just about everybody knows Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, there's one of the episodes where Winnie wants to go and get honey from the honey tree, or from the tree. And if you remember, he has a balloon and he has a string. And then somebody says, well, why do you have the balloon? And he said, well, to keep the string up. Not to keep the balloon down, but to keep the string up. Imagine if we did that with our head, that our head is the balloon, and it allowed our spine to be in alignment. You don't have to be ramrod, but imagine if you allowed head-tail connectivity. Your head, the top of your spine, your tail, that it was connected simply by allowing your balloon to keep the string aligned. One more person. Another feeling, another sensation that you got doing that? Yes?
I felt stilted and like I wasn't balanced. And then when you said now move, as though you're attached but do it smoothly, I felt elongated.
Yeah.
But not like I was a little off balance.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, sometimes we think that balance is a static thing. Balance is more like equilibrium. So when you create an equilibrium in your spine in movement, and we do a lot of exercises and dance for Huntington's disease, that creates that equilibrium, that freedom to move, thank you. So the next thing is rhythm. Rhythm is extremely important in our research. In Laban movement theory, rhythm is made up of two things: weight and time. Weight is how much force or intention you have to do something. You know, when you say you put your weight behind an activity, it means that you're right there with it. And time is about a decision. You know, I have to get somewhere at a certain time. There's decision. So whenever you do a rhythm, what you're actually doing is a combination of making a decision and using weight. So let's do an exercise that we've done, that we normally do. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Come back here. Okay. And I'll invite you just to clap the rhythm. It takes a lot of work. Be mindful of what it actually takes to do this clapping. How about tap on your thighs? There you go. How about one alternating? How about double time? How about on different parts of the body? You can pick it. Great. Yeah. So could we stand up again? Actually, let me see. Hang on. Before we stand, let me get to this. So harmony is defined in reference to relationships. We know, like I mentioned, harmonious sound. When one note is played on a piano and it's pleasing in relationship with another. And we hear the discord and disharmony when the notes are not in the same key. And the same thing is with space. Laban saw spatial patterns all around us and he recognized that there were ideal patterns of the Platonic solids as forms of actual movement of humans. So he linked the directions of the vertices of different shapes following the natural spatial pulls, those laws of space, to move in all directions within certain shapes. There's the vertical plane, there's a sagittal plane, there's a horizontal plane. So if I could invite you to stand up again, please. And along the vertical plane, I'm going to invite you to take 2 steps to the right. 1, 2. And 2 steps to the left. 1, 2. Let's do that again. 2 steps to the right. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Good. Now there's a sagittal plane, forward and back. Let's start back first. I'll ask you to do 2 steps back. 1, 2. And how about 1 step forward, 1 step back, back. So let's put those 2 together. Somebody said, oh boy. Vertical plane, 2 steps to the right, 2 steps to the left. Then the sagittal plane, 4 steps back, 2 steps back, 1 forward and 1 back. So let's start to the right. And 1, 2 to the left, 1, 2 to the back, 1, 2. 1 step forward and 1 step back. So far, so good? So we've done 3 planes of the dimensions. You know, we're in a 3-dimensional world. The last one is the horizontal plane. And all we're going to do, you know, like how a horizontal is like this? All we're going to do is take a turn to the left. There we go. That's a horizontal plane. So let's put all 3 planes together. So we'll start 2 to the right. 1, 2. 2 to the left. 1, 2. 2 back. 1, 2. 1 forward. 1 back. And turn around. Let's do that again. 2 to the right. 1, 2. 2 to the left. 1, 2. 2 back. 1, 2. 1 forward. 1 back. Did I say that correctly? Yeah. Turn around to the left. Let's try it one more time. 2 to the right. 1, 2. 2 to the left. 1, 2. 2 back. 1, 2. 1 forward. 1 back. Turn to the left. One more time. I know I said one more time before, right? That should have been 2 more times. Last time. 2 to the right. 1, 2. 2 to the left. 1, 2. 2 back. 1, 2. 1 forward. 1 back. And turn a quarter. You can have a seat. Woo! So basically, space has these harmonies. All we were doing was the basic dimensions. On the top right here, that's the octahedron. And that's because we're using just the 3 basic dimensions. And that's the most stable dimensions. In fact, you know how music, there are scales, that you can play a scale on the piano or whatever? Well, there are scales in the Laban movement theory as well. And the scale that goes along with that is called the defense scale. We just did a version of the defense scale because it's stable. So learning to move in ways that incorporate those dimensions increase someone's stability. Laban's work visioned dynamic space, identifying the relationships between single spatial appearances causing movement to follow defined paths. There is a found unity of movement and space that can be demonstrated to show a natural order of sequence and the laws of space that we all are part of as we move. Thus, movement is in a sense living architecture and made up of pathways tracing shapes in space. The somatic technique of contemporary dance training significantly impacts on patients' cognitive and motor impairments. Trinkler and all. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Paul. So what we did was, as part of this HDSA study, was we invited people from the HDSA Center of Excellence at Columbia to join our cohort. And the initial target was 20 participants. So in our first group, we invited 10 people, 7 of whom showed up for the program, and we'll report some data from the 7 participants. We wanted to include people above the age of 18, mild to moderate Huntington's disease defined by the total functional capacity scale, and people who were able to ambulate independently for about 20 meters. We excluded people with any major illnesses that would have prevented them from participating in the study. So the study timeline looked like this. We had 4 measurements, each of which was separated by 12 weeks. At the beginning, we had a 12-week baseline period because we wanted to ask, is motor performance stable over 12 weeks? And then after the second baseline assessment, we had a 12-week intervention where participants would go to the Hunter College dance studios twice a week for 12 weeks. At the end of that, we had T3, which was the post-intervention assessment. And then after that, people went back to their usual activity for another 12 weeks. And we wanted to ask, well, is there any retention of what they've learned in the dance program? At each of these measurements, we administered a number of outcomes related to balance, mobility, cognition, general motor function, and quality of life. So we measured balance using a clinical scale called the Berg Balance Scale. We administered the short physical performance battery, which assesses functional strength of the lower limbs, balance, and walking. And then the two next ones, the modified clinical test of sensory interaction and balance and the stand and walk test, were instrumented with inertial sensors, the APDM system. We also administered the Montreal Cognitive Assessment and the Unified Huntington's Disease Rating Scale. And then we also asked people to provide just questionnaire data on their quality of life. And we also administered the Life Space Questionnaire, which is a unique questionnaire which asks about the spatial extent of movement, whether they're moving within their home, just outside their home, within the neighborhood, within the city, or beyond. For the instrumented tests, as I mentioned, we used an inertial sensor system called the APDM. We had 3 sensors, 1 at the back and 2 on the feet, and we did 2 tests. The first test is shown in the picture on the top right. It's the clinical test of sensory integration and balance. Essentially, we asked people to perform 4 things for 30 seconds each. Stand on a firm surface with eyes open, stand on a firm surface with eyes closed, and then stand on a foam surface with eyes open, and then stand on the foam surface with eyes closed. What we measured was not only the quality of postural sway, but the smoothness of postural sway. And then we performed the instrumented stand and walk test, the ISAW, where people were asked to be in quiet stance for 30 seconds, then walk a distance of 7 meters, turn around, walk back to the starting position at their preferred chosen speed. And this allowed us to measure the metrics of walking, such as the speed of walking, the cadence of walking, the length of the step, etc., etc. So we had in our first cohort 7 people who completed the program. They ranged in age from 41 to 70, so wide range. When we look at their UHDRS motor scores, we see that some of them had more motor impairments than others. 3 of the 7 participants had some functional limitations, even though mostly they were independent in their activities of daily living. When you look at the last column, the Berg Balance Scale, we see that almost everyone had a score above 40, which is the cutoff we use for fall risk. So no one in this cohort was at risk for falls, which was wonderful. So we looked at the baseline period first, and we found that across all metrics, things were stable, which means that in the 12 weeks before they started the dance program, their motor performance, their cognitive performance was stable. During the intervention, we had no adverse events, thankfully, and the dance program was well tolerated. At the end of the intervention, participants' feedback was extremely positive. As you can tell, spending just a few minutes with Paul, imagine if you'd spent 12 weeks with him. The only complaint we had from the participants was that the program was ending, and they didn't like that. We did see subtle improvements on the clinical assessments of balance, And so far, because the sample is so small, we didn't see any statistical differences. There were no changes in functional capacity, which is good, that people maintained their function since they were doing quite well at the beginning. When we looked at their metrics of gait, we saw from baseline to post-intervention an improvement in a number of metrics, including the speed of walking, the stride length, the time at which they took each cycle, each stride, that reduced, and cadence, step frequency improved. The two graphs, the left graph is gait speed. As you can see, baseline to post-intervention, it improved. And the time that they took for each stride, cycle time duration, reduced from baseline to post-intervention. This was very, very positive and hopeful for us, even with a small sample of 7 people. And we hope to continue this with a second cohort.
So we have just a few minutes, and I'd like you all to have some fun. If you've ever been to a wedding, there's one dance that everybody does, right? Which is the chicken what? Oh, I don't know that one. But it's the electric slide, which you all were just learning. So I'm going to put on the electric slide song, because the last HD convention I was at and the big party that you have in the end, they play electric slide. So now you all will know how to dance it. But as you do it, the music is going to be good, it's going to be a lot of fun, but pay attention. Be aware of what it takes for rhythm. Imagine if your head was a balloon and you were not like this doing it, but you were just moving with lightness. And let's do the electric slide to end up this session. Please feel free to stand.
It's electric.
It's a slightly slower version. So tell your DJ if they're going to play it later to be slower. So we're going to start with the steps to the right and then to the left, back and front, all the way around as we did. And you can boogie a little bit. Here we go. To the right, 2 steps. 1. To the left. 2 back. 1, 2. 1 forward, forward. 1 back. Quarter turn. We good? Go again. Ready to the right. 2 to the right. To the left. 2 to the left. 2 back. 1, 2. 1 forward. 1 back. And quarter turn. Now go and 2 to the right. 2 to the left. 2 back. 1 forward. 1 back. Quarter turn. And then last time. 1, 2 to the left. 1, 2. 2 back. 1 forward, 1 back, and quarter turn. And that ends our presentation. Thank you all very much.